you live in the great state of Oregon, you're getting Seahawk and 49er games. That's it. I hope you like them because you're getting them. And then 1994 came around and Sunday Ticket. I had one friend with Sunday Ticket. I thought it was the most amazing thing ever.
I had
shout out to Drew Hurd. He might be listening. He likes to text me in the middle of the show as well. Drew Hurd had this huge satellite dish out on his family's estate.
compound.
A big piece of property out. Shout out to Looking Glass. They had a big old satellite, and he's like, "Yeah, I have Sunday Ticket. We watch every game. We watch any game we want."
Yeah,
and he was a massive Broncos fan. And he's like, "Yeah, so we're gonna watch the Broncos." I'm like, "We always watch the Broncos." Anyways, so like in 1994, it was a very innovative thing, and since then we've changed the way we watch sports in this world, and I'm wondering with this trial getting a little bit more of a run, will we now eventually see NFL Sunday Ticket in different tiers? Will we see it to a more viewer-friendly option? So we'll talk about that coming up on the big show. We are going to talk about the NBA. We are going to talk about these NBA finals. Not memorable, but look, winners get sprinkles on this show, and kudos to the Boston Celtics. This was not a fun finals. This was a clunker of a finals, and it's not the NBA's. I don't want to do some big, long think piece as to, does the NBA have a problem? No, NBA doesn't really have a problem. But in an NBA finals that had some star power, the stars didn't show up. And then the Boston Celtics, who are an incredible team, but their stars aren't, like, where would you put the duo of Tatum and Brown in terms of NBA star power? And when I say star power, non-sports fans know who they are. That's where I kind of measure star power. Yeah, every basketball nerd can tell you about how Tatum and Brown statistically are blah, 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 blah. Yeah. What does Kevin in Omaha know about him? That's your star power. Because he knows who Patrick Mahomes is. Is this a transition in the NBA? Is this an anomaly? Is it just we have not crowned those two guys as superstars in the league yet? So we're going to dive into that coming up in a bit, because Brenden and I went back and looked. I've always said two things drive the NBA Finals, because it's not the Super Bowl. Super Bowl, every year, it's a spectacle. You get one day. It's Super Bowl Sunday. You make snacks. You bring dip. You hammer beers. You watch the halftime show. Shh, the commercials are on. You've already seen the commercials, right? You throw a party. Super Bowl's got that because it's one game. Final Four, kind of the same thing, right? Final Four, it's on a Saturday. It used to be like that with the Rose Bowl. Those single game. Well, when you get a series, there are other factors involved in terms of what is going to draw in eyeballs. Yeah, game one, most people, hey, the finals are on. But after that, there are three things. Holding up four fingers. Sorry, YouTube. Three things that can determine it. A, just a competitive series. This one was not. What, have one good game? One good game. Game two, I think, was the only decent game. And Luka fouled out with 4 minutes to go in that one. Other than that, it was double digits, 30-point losses, 20-point losses, blowouts left and right. Even in a 5-game series, not one game other than game two was competitive. So you got a problem there. And again, what are you going to do? Second problem. So competitiveness, star power, storylines. Those are the things that drive the NBA Finals. And unfortunately for the NBA, the two stars in Dallas, didn't quite show up. And I don't know if we have quite crowned Tatum and Brown yet, but they will be. And then the other part of it is, what's the story, right? Shout out Oasis in the 90s. What's the story? Morning Glory, Champagne Supernova.
Oasis is solid.
Dude, Oasis had a moment. Had a moment in time. Then couldn't get along. Brothers. Couldn't get along.
You and I know. You and I have brothers, Justin. There's ups and downs.
Listen.
I know that very well.
I could not even imagine what that must be like to not only be in a spot where you and your brother are like in a band together, but then you become global superstars. And on top of that, much like we see in sports, there is a debate over which Gallagher brother was the star, right? Well, because Liam did all the singing. He's the front man, but Noah wrote all the songs. And then they sit and fight and fight and fight.
So you're saying they both thought they were John when one of them was clearly Ringo?
Neither one of them was Ringo. One was, were they John or were they Paul?
Oh, fair. Okay.
But
fair.
now imagine if John and Paul were actually related brothers.
Oh, yeah. No, it's yeah. Fair.
So,
fair.
Anyways, what's the story? Morning Glory is there. I think that's the biggest thing here. There's no real story here. We went back and coming up in a handful of minutes, we're going to go back and look at the other NBA finals and kind of where did this one compare to, because there was very little storyline. And again, is that the NBA's job? Is that the media's job? Did we drop the ball on it? Is the story just the Celtics were as well constructed a team as ever there was one? And for the most part, and again, I think this kind of goes towards the organization, which is why the Celtics now have more banners than anyone else. Brenden, 3 years ago, the Celtics were in a bit of a pickle. Because 3 years ago, was it 3 or 4 years ago, Brad Stevens stepped down. And it was kind of documented that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum aren't getting along. They are not getting along. They're not playing well. Ime Udoka gets the job. And basically, Ime Udoka's job was, hey, you got to get these two to get it together. Now, to be fair, 4 years ago, Tatum and Brown were 22 and 21. Or 22 and 20, I believe. They're 2 years apart. They were 22 and 20 years of age. It's a little tough to figure. You guys got to figure out how to play together. And Ime Udoka came in, and
he had some distractions going on, too.
And that's what I was going to say. Like, you think about the way that Boston went about this kind of should have either A, blown up or caused more drama than it did. Brad Stevens goes to the front office. You hire in Ime Udoka, who I don't believe had any head coaching experience before that. You make a run to the NBA Finals. Coach gets suspended and then ultimately fired with cause. We still don't know what on earth happened there, but it didn't sound like it's very good. You then put Joe Mazzulla in that spot, who had no previous head coaching experience. But throughout the entire thing, started with Danny Ainge, then moved to Brad Stevens, and they constructed a team that, let's be honest, kind of indestructible. I mean, even as far down as Peyton Pritchard, West Lynn's own. By the way, West Lynn's got a ring. Shout out to the Lions. They got a ring.
Give him his flowers, man. That's awesome.
Congrats
is awesome. To Peyton, man. I forgot about that.
Yeah. He is kind of the forgotten Oregon, like we talk about, because obviously I am a staunch supporter of one particular athlete to ever come out of the great state of Oregon as the greatest, and I will not be swayed. But Peyton Pritchard doesn't ever get in those conversations. Needs to be. Has a ring now. Maybe because he's not a starter, but so what? He's been a solid contributor on an NBA team his entire career. They've given him an extra contract. He hasn't bounced around the league.
They value him.
He's one of the best basketball players to ever come out of this great state. And now he's got a ring. So, but you look at the way the Celtics were constructed, guys like that matter. You got Peyton Pritchard coming off the bench, hitting half-court shots at the end of halftime. Like that's how you build a championship. So we're going to dive into the NBA Finals a little bit more. What did the Celtics do? We finally have balance in the NBA from the Eastern and the Western Conference. All that and a whole lot more next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Boston Celtics get the NBA championship last night. Now, if you've looked the last handful of years, there has been a trend in the NBA, right? It has been first-time winners, first-time winners, first-time winners. We have not seen a dynasty truly since the Golden State Warriors. And it looked like there was going to be a handful of dynasties on the way, but this is the way that the league has gone. We have seen nothing but, and I know that like the Celtics as an organization, not a first-time winner, but this iteration of the Boston Celtics with Tatum and Brown and Mazzulla and Brad Stevens and everything else, right? They're pretty much a first-time champion. It's the first win for the Boston Celtics since the Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen. That's who was on that team. And Doc Rivers was on that team. So, right, you got to go all the way back to when the Golden State Warriors won the NBA title and Kevin Durant was still on the Golden State Warriors. That was 3 teams ago, Kev. Since then, we have seen the Raptors. We have seen the bubble Lakers. We have seen the Milwaukee Bucks. We have seen the last gasp of the Golden State Warriors. Then the Boston Celtics, or not the Boston, then the Denver Nuggets, then the Boston Celtics. So, I mean, there's just been nothing but first-time winners other than that last gasp of the Golden State Warrior dynasty. But that kind of also, Brenden, didn't feel like that didn't feel like a part of that dynasty run because there was no Kevin Durant on that one.
It's tough. For like I said, when you and I were still lucky enough to be doing this show then too. So happy 2 years at least together, Justin. But I remember talking at the time and being like, that title was the most important for Steph Curry, Draymond Green's legacy.
100%.
And, I think
it solidified their dynasty, I guess I should say.
Now, my question...
But it had been like 4 years.
Yeah, no, I mean, Steph's injury, COVID, a few other things. But, like, my question for you with the Celtics is, do we look at them more like I almost want to reference, like, the early 90s Bulls before they got over the hump and then when they finally did, or even the Pistons, because you look at the way that, like it was amazing to me that, someone said Boston's been out of 5 of the last 7 Eastern Conference Finals, right? And most of that has been with this core that you've talked about. They've just never been able to get over that hump, right? And I just wonder if, the one time they broke through, got to the NBA Finals, lost the Warriors, but I wonder if, like, all that they've went through these years, having Kyrie when these guys were both young, seeing Kyrie leave, seeing just all these things kind of got them to where they are now.
I mean, they're definitely part of it. I mean, I always pause because early 90s Bulls, like, let's pump the brakes a little bit because it's a different reason. It was they had Michael Jordan.
Like the Pistons were in the way for a while. For the Pistons, the Celtics were in the way.
It was kind of in the same spot, but like this Boston team didn't have the big bad wolf, right? Didn't have the big nemesis, as they say in your video game world, the final boss, right? They lost to the Warriors in the NBA Finals. They lost to the Heat in a series they should have won last year, the Heat as an 8 seed, right? Should have won that series. So it differs because the Bulls, and even before that, like the Pistons had to get over the hump with the Celtics. Then they won their 2 titles. The Bulls had to get over the hump with the Pistons, did that, won their 3 titles. This was almost like the Boston Celtics had to kind of figure themselves out. They didn't have a final boss. They didn't have a big bad wolf. They didn't have that one bugaboo burr in their saddle, right? That is just, boy, it's always it was themselves. Right? They lost to the Warriors, they lost to the Heat until finally getting over the championship hunt by beating the Cavs and the Pacers and then the Dallas Mavericks, right? It wasn't like that, but I do see what you're talking about. Taking your playoff lumps is a big deal. Learning how to win in the postseason is a big deal, which brings me to my next topic, which is now that Boston has kind of gotten past that, is this the next NBA dynasty? We haven't had a dynasty in a long, long time. We have had, like I mentioned, kind of one-off champions, except I don't know what you call the Golden State Warriors win 2 years ago. Again,
Concluding the dynasty, I think. Like, because you
but
think
when
about
you think about, boy, the run of Golden State,
it was only 2 years.
There were some bad years in there. There was
it was only
like Steph injury and Clay injury and Kevin Durant injury and then Kevin Durant leaving and then COVID. But COVID was, and then they were a play-in team and lost to LeBron the year before that because LeBron saw 3 rims and he hit the middle one. And as much as I want to make fun of him, he did.
It's fair.
He did hit the shot,
but it was only
and
2
then
years.
and then they had a little blip, and then they went back to being a play-in team
because you had what they were. 2019 NBA Finals is when Clay popped his ACL, and then
Durant tore his Achilles,
and then they won it in 2022. So 2 years they took off.
Yeah, man, COVID feels like 5 years.
It does. But yeah, to your point, it's absolutely spot on because they were less of a dominant force without Kevin Durant, and they were not a shoo-in, totally.
From 20 to 24 right here, right? In the last 4 years, they have an NBA title, but other than that, they've been out of the playoffs, play-in, out of the playoffs, play-in, out of the playoffs. Like, have they even gotten into the first round other than when they won the NBA title? I think they lost twice in the play-in, and then 1 year they didn't even go to the bubble. They were like, yeah, we shall not participate in the bubble.
Yes, they made the conference semis last year.
Okay. Last year, Myers. Nice.
Yeah. Hey, man, there's a lot of ball. We got a lot of moving parts, man. But no, conference. So they won the first round, lost the second round last year. But we talked about Steph is old. The Warriors are aging, Justin.
They are. Yeah. And so, which is why I'm wondering, like, are we now on the verge of a parity run in the NBA, or are we on the verge of the Celtics, which, like I said in the first segment, seemingly like what's their weakness, right? What's their weakness in an NBA where you don't really have to have a dominant big man, right? They kind of got away with half a Porzingis and an aging Al Horford. By the way, you know my favorite stat from the NBA Finals. Favorite stat.
Many teams didn't want Al Horford.
Well, also, Al Horford was drafted the day before the iPhone was unveiled. That's how long ago it was.
I mean, he's not a young whippersnapper by any means.
He was drafted into the NBA when the iPhone was invented.
He's
or
not
released.
young.
I think it was ultimately released to the public.
He is going to turn 39 in 2 weeks.
Which, I mean, still in your prime, kid. Still in your prime.
But yeah, that's actually where'd you find that stat?
I
saw social media. That's awesome.
The internet gives me everything. It probably is wrong too. I don't know. I'm just stealing it as if it's right. But where's their weakness? Right? They don't seem to have one.
As I told you, the thing that's most impressive with the Boston Celtics, Justin, and we mentioned this, not like you said that anybody leaves Boston anyway, but just the simple fact that money is money. They don't lose anybody. Their entire team's under contract. Like, they literally can just go press, reset, run it back.
So we may be sitting here on the verge of an NBA dynasty. It may be the most boring dynasty maybe in NBA history, because when you look at these finals, look, let's be perfectly honest. It was a boring finals. The 3 things, I'll reiterate if you weren't here for segment number 1. 3 things, right, that I think make an NBA Finals exciting. Either A, competitive games. There was none. There was, I guess, game 2 was semi-competitive. Other than that, there were no competitive games. It was a clunker of a series. B, star power. Celtics don't have star power yet. They've got good players. Good players are not stars. It's two different things. I've gotten into this argument multiple times, right? There are in the music world unbelievable virtuoso musicians. They ain't rock stars. There's a difference, right? You think of who are the greatest actors of their generation, right? Guys that the drama community look at, like that guy right there. They ain't movie stars, right? They ain't movie stars. being incredibly good basketball players does not make you a superstar. And if we're being completely, and again, it's a gut feeling. How do you know when somebody's a superstar? I know it when I see it. Shout out Justice Stewart. Look it up, kids. I know it when I see it, and I don't see it with the Boston Celtics, but I see a team that's kind of indestructible. I see a team that does not have a real single weakness. I see a team that, like Brenden just mentioned, is poised to be a factor for the next 3, 4, 5 years. So, again, no competitive games. The star power was Luka. Luka did not do an awful lot for his approval rating. Looked like a whiny little child throughout most of the series. And again, I think basketball fans kind of know that is Luka. He doesn't play a lick of defense in the regular season. When he tries to crank it up in the playoffs, he doesn't have that club in his bag, to throw another golf reference out there. I mean, just try to not do something for 6 months and then go like, I'm going to start doing that. We've all done it, right? Hey, I haven't.
Usually there's a pop involved.
I haven't gone for a run in 8 months. I'm going to go try to run. Like, it doesn't work. Luka's trying to do that with defense.
So do you think, and not to make it all about us, Justin, do you think that was kind of the Blazers' Achilles heel on some of these best teams that we saw, where like it was kind of all offense, no breaks, and then we get into the postseason, and even like the best Blazer team we saw just couldn't get the stops when it mattered most.
I think there was multiple factors. That's a huge one. That was a huge one. The other factor is when you look at the Boston Celtics, right? Depth. Every championship team, every championship run, we talk about the Warriors, right? Well, you can't talk about they got Steph, and they had Clay, but they had depth.
8-9 deep is incredible.
You look at the Nuggets last year, just the depth that they had on their team, the guys that are, coming off the bench. And the Blazers just didn't have that. They had Dame, they had Dame, who was a superstar, but blitz him, get the ball out of his hands, make other guys beat you, and nobody else did. Which is where the Celtics, again, have kind of created a little bit of a wagon here. And it might have been something that was holding back the Dallas Mavericks, right? Kyrie did not really show up in this series. Now, how much of that was Kyrie Irving? How much of that was age? How much of that was Drew Holiday? Speaking of depth, we've gotten to a segment and a half. Haven't mentioned Drew Holiday yet. I know Jaylen Brown. I know Jaylen Brown got the MVP, but that dude put Kyrie Irving in handcuffs.
Do the Blazers get a cheese basket?
I would hope so.
Yeah, something, right? Cheese basket, maybe a little bit of the champagne, maybe a leftover bottle.
One leftover bottle.
I mean, Brad Stevens, I'm just saying, we only got a Golden State Warriors pick this year, some future first. Sorry, Malcolm Brogdon, you're okay. And you're okay,
but
too.
I think, definitely the Blazers should get
like
some sort of gift basket. Maybe some chocolate turtles. Where are the turtles?
Cash basket, Justin. But, just send them cash considerations at this point. But, I'm sorry. Just, again, Portland helped facilitate the here's a great question. Maybe we talk about this later, make or miss, Justin. Does Boston get this done if Portland doesn't trade Damian Lillard and facilitate this trade? That's a massive what if. Absolutely massive. I don't know.
Yeah, the fact is, if Dame, we can go back a year ago, right? A year ago. Drew Holiday is nowhere close to being a Boston Celtic. A year ago. But then the Blazers get the number 3 pick. The Blazers decide to not trade that pick and try to get help. Now, maybe there was nothing available, but as far as a guy who, like me, loves the butterfly effect, boy, oh boy, the Blazers draft Scoot, Dame requests trade, thinks he's going to Miami. Nope, not going to Miami. You're going to Milwaukee. Milwaukee trades Drew Holiday. Boston, of course, gets Drew Holiday, gives up Malcolm Brogdon, and kind of gave those Brogdon minutes went to Pritchard, right?
And Holiday, yeah.
And Holiday.
And Robert Williams, obviously. I know he didn't mention him. Sorry, Robert. He didn't play much
But
this
yeah,
year.
like the fact that the there's a ton of Danny Ainge fingerprints all over this this championship. You get Tatum and Brown, you get nothing without those two, right? Clearly, that's the move. Also, as you told me, Brenden, not only did he kind of handpick Brad Stevens out of Butler to be the head coach, but then when Brad Stevens took over, Danny Ainge was also one of the ones that I think Joe Mazzulla might be a guy you want to have on your staff, and ultimately So yeah, there's a lot of Danny Ainge fingerprints. There's clearly a lot of Brad Stevens fingerprints, but there's some Joe Cronin fingerprints on that championship, and you have to wonder, boy, oh boy, if Dame either A, never requested the trade, or B, as we have heard rumors and rumblings in the last year, that when the trade to Miami looked like it wasn't going to happen, and then Dame, I think Chris Haynes reported this, right? That Dame's like, I want to come back and try to make it work. And the Blazers were like, no, we're too far down the road on this. Sorry, you're going to Milwaukee. Boy, what happened if they'd have figured out something with Miami?
I mean, Boston would have been good, but I don't think it would have been as dominant. Like I said, Drew Holiday in a very different way was their Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm.
He was their cheat code that allowed them to run roughshod over the East. So if the playoffs had been healthy for all the opponents they faced, maybe it's a different story, but that's why I knew I would have been shocked if they had allowed Dallas to come back in. Like, they just were too deep at every position, Justin.
The Game 4 was I don't want to say they threw it on purpose, but Game 4 was, let's just call it predictable. So getting back to my my three-tiered system on interest in the NBA Finals, there was no competitive games. There was no real star power in this. The good basketball, but not star power. And then the third thing is storyline. Because you might be like, well, Justin, what about the Denver Nuggets last year? There was a storyline. First ever championship potentially for an organization. Boston's got 17 of them. You know what I mean? Like this, if this whole thing was in different uniforms, like if all of these players were in Indiana Pacers uniforms, this would be, I think, a much, much, much bigger deal. But it wasn't a bigger deal because it's the Boston Celtics. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's another banner going up. And that's an organization that has been there, done that. The Mavericks, I mean, we kind of tried to make the Kyrie storyline thing happen. Didn't quite work. Like the stories just weren't there. Last year, Nuggets, boom. And you had number 8 seed in the Miami Heat and a guy in Jimmy Butler who I think is not as good of a basketball player as Jason Tatum, but I think he's a bigger star. He draws more eyeballs. Doesn't mean he's a better basketball player. So you had that storyline. You had the Warriors the year before. You had Giannis, the Greek Freak, the year before. The whole, and then we'll bubble, whatever. And then COVID, and then you had the Toronto Raptors and all the injuries and all the, like, Drake is sitting courtside, Patton, Kevin Durant on the, you see, those are all storylines and star power. You didn't have that with this series. But what you did have is a team that is built like they are going to go on a bit of a run. So we're going to talk about that with our good friend Devon Pouncey. That's going to be coming up in hour number 3. But we continue our countdown to kickoff with college football and on campus coming up next. But before we get to that, I do want to tell you about Toyota and iHeartRadio and us. We need your help filling the truck with canned and non-perishable food items to benefit the Oregon Food Bank. So bring your donations and look for the specially marked Toyota Tundra at 2 different Fred Meyer locations. This Saturday, June the 22nd, from noon to 2 on Kings Boulevard in Corvallis. And on Sunday, also from noon to 2 at Wheeler, Northeast Wheeler in Portland. While you're there, enter for a chance to win. Good Lord, spit this out. You only read it every day, Justin. Enter to win a trip for 2 to the iHeartRadio Music Festival and visit the events page at ripcityradio.com for a complete list of dates and locations. And join us at Fred Meyer as we fill the truck for the Oregon Food Bank. On campus next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we are 74 days away from college football kickoff 2024. As we eagerly await what is going to be a college football season unlike any other. But today, when we go on campus, we take a look back at games that I guess apparently never happened, or, well, one coach wants games that never happened to re-emerge and to be recreated. What am I talking about? It'll all make sense. But first, we need the cool music. Let's go on campus. All right, much has been made about the College Football Hall of Fame inclusion requirements. Have to be consensus All-American as a player, as a coach. As a coach, you have to have a winning percentage above 60%. You got to be 60% or higher. And as we've learned, Mike Leach fell just below that mark. Mike Leach, so he can't be included in the College Football Hall of Fame. We talked about it with Josh Pate. I feel like we can just, if the College Football Hall of Fame just had a meeting one day, heck, you don't even have to have a couple of emails and be like, maybe let's create a committee to go back. I call it the integrity unit. Let's just create a committee to go back and find some stuff that maybe we missed. And let's put more and more players into the Hall of Fame, because anybody that's ever been there knows it's not a real estate problem. The College Football Hall of Fame is all digital, and there's a lot of players that I believe deserve, and a lot of coaches that deserve. One of those coaches, I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. We're going to talk about it right now. He sure as heck thinks that he is. I bring up one Les Miles. Now, Les Miles is a character.
The Mad Hatter, Justin.
The Mad Hatter, the riverboat gambler. And 2007 national champion, LSU Tigers. Now, in 2023, LSU vacated 37 wins between, what were the years? 2012 to 2015. Because in those years, an LSU booster paid the father of a player as part of a recruitment. They got busted, and they vacated those wins. Now, according to Les Miles, the NCAA did not come down on him. He claimed he did not know, and his winning percentage as a coach is being affected by some fast-talking booster who was able to pay a recruit's dad, and he wants those 37 wins back. Why? Because without those 37 vacated wins, he now drops to 597 and is not allowed to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. Regardless of that, because, again, I think the Hall of Fame should get rid of this win requirement and, again, have a committee. Let's talk about it. We're going to play another fun game of Would You Rather. Would you rather have the career of Mike Leach? Mike Leach famously never won a national title, famously never won a conference, never won a division, never won a division in the Big 12 at Texas Tech, never won the Pac-12 North, and never won the SEC West. So if you don't win the division, you can't win the conference. Don't win the conference. You could still win the national title, but you see what I'm getting at. But because of his funny demeanor, his ability to start talking about anything and everything, and the fact that offensive football in all of college has fingerprints and legacy of Mike Leach on them, you could argue that he's a Hall of Famer. LSU and Les Miles, fun stories, but Brenden, I don't know if Les Miles leaves a legacy. I don't know if you could say Les Miles had an awful lot of contribution to the game. Now, he did win a national title and then ultimately flopped trying to rebuild a Kansas program that multiple people have tried to not even rebuild, but to build.
For me,
whose coaching career would you rather have? Mike Leach, who never won anything but is regarded as a legend, or Les Miles, who's got a ring, but you could say ultimately does not have the same lasting legacy that Mike Leach has. Which coaching career would you rather have? Would you rather have the ring or the legacy?
Yeah, I think Mike Leach's legacy is better, and I think I'd rather have the legacy of being like, oh my gosh, look at all these dudes who came out of this tree. That being said, though, you have to separate art from the artists, and I'm going to say this. There were a lot of really, really, really terrible things that happened at LSU under his watch that, let's go back and look, folks, why he was fired at Kansas. Because Kansas goes, oh.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
We didn't run a background check because he was our athletic director's buddy, and there were things that happened at LSU that were inappropriate. I'll leave it at that. Inappropriate things at LSU.
You can do your own research. It's not hard to find.
No, but that being said, and there were a lot of issues, and those issues even extended up here when Oregon State had to replace the president and so many things with LSU. That being said, you talk about the players he brought through that program, Justin. Honey Badger. I mean, so many more. And I think both these guys should be in the College Football Hall of Fame.
I know, but I'm just going like,
but yeah.
I got this idea from watching Get Up because it was like, which quarterback's career would you rather have, Eli Manning's or Aaron Rodgers?
Right.
And I'm like, what coaching career would you rather have? Because I think about Les Miles. I think about Ed Orgeron. I think about Gene Chizik. I think of these guys that have rings. They've got a ring. They got championships. Confetti falling down upon them. Gatorade dumped upon them. Big contracts that came afterwards. But they're nowhere close to the legacy of Mike Leach. And so I'm just wondering, would you rather have the Mike Leach legacy where you didn't win anything, but, boy, you created something. You created an offensive revolution in a sport, or that one moment in time where you got that ring? I don't know. It's a tough one.
It's tough.
That's a tough one.
I think ultimately, though, Justin, like Mike Leach didn't win enough games. Les Miles.
But Les Miles and Mike Leach are fairly close in terms of winning percentage.
Right. No, like if Les Miles was given wins back, like on the pure merits, he won enough games. Mike Leach merits.
I guess like 3 games. Mike Leach.
That's why I'm like, come on, guys.
It's real close. Anyways, do want to let you know about Ticket Tuesday. That's today. Is today's Ticket Tuesday? Rip City Radio and Ticket Tuesday. We're keeping the winning streak alive with exclusive tickets to the Hillsboro Hops. Listen to Rip City Drive this afternoon. You should be listening anyways, but this afternoon for your chance to win Ticket Tuesday Hops tickets. You can also check them out at hillsborohops.com. Hour 2 coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA Finals are now in the books, and that is a wrap on the NBA season. And the Boston Celtics are your NBA champions, taking down the Dallas Mavericks 106-88 behind Jason Tatum's 31 points. Jason Tatum led the series in, I believe, scoring, rebounds, and assists, but Jaylen Brown is your series MVP. The Boston Celtics now have the edge over the Los Angeles Lakers by just one for most championships in NBA history. NFL news, Commissioner Roger Goodell testified in federal court yesterday over the NFL Sunday ticket package. A class action claims the NFL broke antitrust laws with selling the package. Also coming up in hour number 3, live in studio for the entire third hour, our good friend Devon Pouncey joins the show. But hour 2 starts right now at 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you are having a fantastic Tuesday. Make or miss coming up in about 20 minutes. It is Tuesday. Weather's supposed to start getting nice. Excited about that, but still a little grumpy from the gloomy weather from over the weekend. So we will be having a bit of a get off my lawn, Justin's old man grumpy takes coming up in about 45 minutes. I'm going to attempt right now to talk about this NFL Sunday ticket package with very little knowledge of the law. I have said multiple times, I am not a legal scholar. I am just married to one. That being said, I've watched a lot of legal dramas. A Few Good Men is one of my favorite movies. So I watched the entire OJ trial as a kid, so I think I know a lot. But watch a lot of real true crime and a lot of courtroom stuff on Dateline and on 2020. But in real life, IRL, I'm not a legal scholar, but I'm going to attempt to try to summarize what's going on, and are we gonna potentially get closer? Will this do anything? All right, so here's from what I understand, this has been going on for a while, is that the NFL, according to the plaintiff, see again, legal scholar, but according to the class action, is that they broke antitrust laws by saying, that Sunday ticket thing is exclusive. You can't do that. You got to put it up for bid. It's got to be it can't it's got to be available to more people, and you've had it exclusive, and the NFL is like, Sunday ticket is because I don't know if you've noticed, all the other stuff we do is free. Monday Night Football is free. Sunday Night Football is free. You get a game on CBS. You get a game on Fox. You get 2 games sometimes, and you might not get a chance to pick which team it is, but it's for free. What's the problem here? Every Sunday afternoon, every Sunday evening, every Sunday night, we give you 5 games for free. And I believe ABC has been running Monday Night Football now, but that moved to cable. But we can pretty much say that Monday Night Football also free. So NFL saying you get 6 games for free. We are giving it away. Not to mention Thanksgiving, those games are free. We're going to run games on Christmas now. Sorry, NBA, but those games are going to be free. And you got to get Amazon Prime, but to get the Thursday night games. But you know what? It's not like Amazon Prime doesn't come with its own benefits, right? Free shipping. We're doing you a favor. All we ask is that, when you want to watch Sunday ticket, you got to pay us $500. And I believe the other side of this, because Brenden, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, because you were very interested in all this stuff going on. It sounded like when they made the move from DirecTV to YouTube TV, there were other people who wanted in on the action. That Apple TV Plus wanted to make it just part of Apple TV Plus. Because Apple is like, it sounds ridiculous, right? Apple TV Plus, I think, is $14 a month. But Apple TV Plus is like, yeah, but you got to buy an iPhone. If you like,
And I read too,
or you got to buy an iPad, or you.
Yeah,
That's where we make our money. Yeah,
Mhm.
we'll put the NFL on Apple TV Plus as long as you keep buying these iPhones every year.
Yeah, and apparently a big. It's funny. I went back and looked a little bit, just kind of revisionist history of this to kind of get the nuts and bolts of it. And YouTube, it's funny, wasn't even expected to be one of the top people. It was expected to be Amazon, Apple, or
I think ESPN, right?
yes,
And ESPN wanted to put on ESPN Plus,
right, and apparently apparently
which
Apple,
is, by the way, Disney.
yeah,
You-
apparently
like-
yeah, Justin, Apple was out of the conversation before it even got out of the
From what I
the
understand,
Tim Cook interview room, because Apple's like, yeah, we want complete exclusive, like
we want all on Sunday Ticket, all on Apple TV Plus,
and remove Fox every, like they wanted it all.
they want all the NFL,
All of it.
Yeah, okay.
All. They said,
See,
give it
okay.
all. Give it all, baby.
I thought they wanted just the Sunday Ticket.
No, they wanted the whole pie, man.
Could you imagine? Could you?
Apple has enough money, man.
Well, it would make a sly business deal for Apple because, like, oh yeah, we'll put NFL on Apple TV Plus, all of it, and and you'll pay $14 a month or whatever. But like I said, that's not where you make the money. The where you make the money is that you get a new one of these convenient here iPhones every 2 years. That's where we're going to make all of our money because we build them for like a nickel and we sell them to you for like $1,000. I don't know what iPhones cost anymore.
That's about right.
Isn't that the craziest thing in this world? Everybody's got an iPhone. I don't know anybody knows how much they cost.
Yeah,
I just have it rolled up into my bill, which is what they want. It's the same reason why they do I've been watching a lot of TikTok videos on car dealership tricks, and because I may be in the market for a car in the not near future, but not so distant future. And they're like, yeah, don't ever tell them what monthly payment you want. That's what they want you to do. You got to work on hard costs. And I was like, I don't know how much my iPhone costs. I just pay the bill. And every month seems about fair for a computer in my pocket. Sure. Yeah, and I think ESPN Plus wanted to do the same thing, but because that's what these streaming platforms they have a problem with. Right, is that the reason I believe, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, is that YouTube TV got it because YouTube TV was like, yeah, we keep it the price point. It's regular YouTube TV is going to be $50 a month, $70 if you want a premium upgrade or whatever. But yeah, you keep the price point whatever you want. Whereas ESPN Plus, they can't do that. Because I don't know if you've seen what's going on in the streaming world, but they have reached a point where it's not really all that profitable anymore. Netflix is the only one making money.
They're making it hand over.
They really are. Boy, they got us. So the NFL is saying that, look, we give you these games for free. You want to watch more? Well, you're going to pay a big chunk because it's premium. Back in the day, you want to watch network TV, and you get to watch Seinfeld and Friends. You get to watch that for free. You want to watch Sopranos, you got to pay HBO Premium. You know what I mean? Like, that's essentially the business model here, and that the NFL is saying that our contracts and our partnerships with Fox and CBS and NBC are far more valuable to us, and that if they were, say, to bring it down to an a la carte, which could be done like tomorrow, right? Tomorrow they could go probably with AI and the gajillion engineers and just say, hey, here's the deal. If you are a crazy NFL fan who has 4 different fantasy football teams and you gamble hand over fist, we're going to keep the Sunday Ticket the same. You watch any game you want anytime. There's your, I guess $500 for the year, which... is that easy math, right? Doing math on the air. It's like $40 a month, right? Including months where there's not football on. And there's a lot of people I think are currently paying that. Now, how many people would pay that if you had another option where if it was, let's say, $10 a month for the entire year, so $120, I can do that math real easy, and you get to pick a team. You pick a team. Like I would pick the Pittsburgh Steelers. I get all the regular games, right? I get all the Sunday morning games. I get all the Sunday afternoon games, the local teams. I get all of Sunday night football. I get all that. But I'm going to pay you $10 a month because I just want Steeler games. That's all I want. Or you could make it to where you only want these particular. Could you do a weekly? Hey, once a week. This is a big week of the NFL. Or I'm going on vacation next week. I don't want to pay. I may have a fall wedding to attend. I don't want to pay for that week. Like that could be done. Like the a la carte NFL menu could be done. Is that better business? Do you think that would actually drive people away from watching the games that we are used to watching each and every Sunday? I don't know that it would. But then again, I'm not a business major. I got to imagine Sunday Night Football, Brenden, is protected. Like, I watch all the Steelers games, but I still watch Sunday Night Football because it's on, right? I think probably the product that might be hurt are those afternoon games on CBS and Fox where you're like, well, I'll just watch my team. But I think Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football, we're already watching them anyways.
Sunday Night Football for sure. Monday Night Football, the product has gotten better the last couple of years. I mean, again, when you say Monday Night Football, I still think of Booger McFarlane riding around the Boogermobile. So it's like, it's still kind of like, haha, Monday Night Football. Not quite like serious Sunday night, boom, get your popcorn, circle around the family couch because it's cue up the awesome, Carrie Underwood. Who else has done Sunday night? The theme song, man. It's always that awesome jingle.
But it started with Hank Williams Jr. on Monday Night Football. He did Monday Night Football. And then he made some comments, and he got taken off of Monday Night Football.
But, that.
He had some strong opinions on President Obama back in the day.
Well, people have strong opinions on presidents, Justin. We learned that.
You just don't get to play your song on Monday Night Football anymore. We may dive into this coming up. I know we got make or miss, but I want to make a comparison to this in college football, which, again, I'm going to bring up why I think college football is and kind of has that secret sauce. So that's going to be coming up next with make or miss. Before we get to that, I do want to let you know about Ticket Tuesday. That's today. This afternoon, listen to Rip City Drive for your chance to win exclusive tickets to the Hillsboro Hops. They got them every single Tuesday all season long. Or you can go to hillsborohops.com to get your tickets today. But Ticket Tuesday on Rip City Drive later on this afternoon. Make or miss coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. Um, we're gonna get to make or miss coming up in just a moment. We also have get off my lawn. Brenden, I want to wrap up one more thing because I've always talked about this with radio that obviously we are in right now, and I've been in this game long enough to where I was in radio before social media. I was in radio when we were told by industry insiders that podcasts are cute, but that's a fad. This podcasting thing's not going to take off, but but we've seen media change so much. You have a media job that is not this, but when you do Beaver's Edge, it's solely on the internet. Solely on the internet. You don't have to buy paper and ink. And
what's that dinosaur technology?
But the one thing I think radio always had in our back pocket, and why I think we have sustained over the years, is we're free, right?
It's true.
You get us for you sit into your car, you turn the knob, and we're there.
Oh yeah.
Every morning we're here, we're free, and I do think when you think of like what the NBA is doing, going to I know they're going to NBC, but that's going to be mostly on streaming. It's going to be mostly on Peacock, where it's like, are these leagues kind of forgetting the secret sauce? Like the NFL knows that they're fine in this antitrust thing because they're like, yeah. Super Bowl's free. You're going to get it for free. The playoffs, free. You get them all, except for the one wild card game that I think Amazon Prime gets. Every Sunday morning, even if it's not your favorite team, the NFL knows, hey, you turn on your TV, regardless of what your TV is attached to, even if it's rabbit ears, on Sunday at 10 o'clock on the West Coast, you're going to have a game to watch. It's going to be free. And I think about that with college football, right? The secret sauce that college football has always had is that, other than the Pac-12, which is, again, a big reason why it is no more, the Pac-12 or the college football is easy to find. Could you imagine the biggest game of the week? In college football, if you have basic of basic cable for decades, unless it was the Pac-12, the biggest game of the week you got for free usually, or sometimes on ESPN. I always talk about kind of what's the secret sauce. Why is the NFL and college football dominant? It's like because it's super easy to get to. And I just think about the NBA going to a lot of streaming stuff. I know MLS did that Apple TV thing, but I still think there's something to be said about, no, we're free. But I wonder what would happen and how, would you bring in, because we hear about this with the WNBA all the time, right? More eyeballs is what Caitlin Clark, and then there's jealousy, and there's a whole thing. That's about all. We're going to talk about that today. But always want to bring in more eyeballs, and nobody has more eyeballs than college football and the NFL. If you did make it to where you could watch just one division, I want to watch AFC North. That's it. Or I want to watch the NFC South. That's all. I don't know why anybody would want to watch that. But I wonder, do you bring in more eyeballs? If you make it, now that it's on YouTube TV, now that it's on the internet, now that it's so easily accessible, you don't have to call DirecTV, have them put a satellite, get their, sign a 2-year contract and all that stuff just to be able to get Sunday Ticket. Do you think we'll ever see a week by week basis? Because I could see a thing where you're like, hey, it's week 3. I got a bunch of people coming over. Let's buy Sunday Ticket this week and just do an a la carte. I don't know.
I could see that. I mean, it's going to depend. Like I said, this is all, like I mentioned to you earlier, it's the one, and this is as far as I will go on this before you open up Make or Miss. Mm-hmm. It is one of the very few court cases that cannot really get political, which I am fascinated by.
Yeah.
In the sense of you name me one, and I don't want you to name me
one.
No
politician wants to get in the way of any person and their sports watching, especially the NFL.
And it just makes no sense. There are blue and red football fans. It's just, it makes it. So that perspective, there's not going to be a this is our cause to shut this down.
Yeah.
So, like, the court system's going to play out. And I truly think, Justin, it may come down to what one judge decides. Yeah. And then maybe an appeal, obviously. But, like, you know this about your legal dramas and whatnot. It's going to come down to a judge.
Yeah, but again, very minimal legal knowledge.
Imagine, though, how powerful that judge feels.
Well,
to know that I believe it's a her, if I remember correctly from what I read this morning. Longtime appointee, been on the bench since the Clinton administration, but like was, basically, weighing this because like, just like you said, the fact that you were going to upset the fans or the industry, like there's a kind of a no-win.
Are there really? Because I just heard about this yesterday, and like I guess maybe now that it's in my head, boy, that would be kind of cool to have a single team option or to have a single week option. That would never did I think like I was upset with the way NFL put their product on TV. It never upset me as a sports fan. You want to get Red Zone? Get Red Zone. Right? If you want to foot the bill, get Sunday Ticket. Boy, get Sunday Ticket. If you want to just watch the free stuff, watch the free stuff. It always felt like I'd never felt a lack of NFL in my life. But then, maybe just because I'm used to it, all of a sudden, like, but you could just watch the one team you like. Because I'm not a Red Zone guy. And you think I'm insane, but I am not a Red Zone guy. I want to watch a game.
It's okay.
One game, and I pick it, and I watch it.
I don't know anybody, and I don't mean this.
Even if it's not the Steelers, I want to pick one game, and I watch that game.
Yeah, I don't mean this negatively, but I don't know anybody over the age of 34 who likes NFL Red Zone. So it's kind of the...
It jumps around too much.
And I'll say this, Justin.
I think it's something about when we were growing up, our dads always had the remote, and we dreamed of a day where we had the remote. And Red Zone, like, they take the remote out of your hands. They start, I don't want you jumping around for me. I shall jump around. Scott Hansen.
I guess my perspective on
Scott
that.
Hansen?
Yeah. On that whole perspective, then we'll get into make or miss. Growing up, I've told you this,
Henson.
Justin, I didn't have a team, but rather players that I liked.
Oh,
like,
could you imagine a player option?
No, for why I liked the teams that I rooted for.
I cut you off. I'm saying for like YouTube TV came out and said, hey, we've got NFL Sunday Ticket fantasy. And you could assign your Sunday Ticket to your fantasy players.
That would be a step. I'd be interested. It sounds like a logistical nightmare,
Probably.
But I'd be interested. But no, like I've told Justin, like as a kid, it was very easy. Like I'm talking like probably till I didn't really, like Justin says, I'm a Brady fan, but I didn't really become a big Brady fan until I was probably like 13, 14. It was a little bit later. Growing up, I liked the Bengals because they were Oregon State colors, and they had 2 Oregon State players, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like the
House
Rams.
to Mozilla.
I like
Championship.
I like the Rams because Steven Jackson ran all over fools. And Justin, for some little boy that lived in Sherwood, Oregon, getting the Rams or the Bengals on local TV was an impossibility. Only when the Rams played the Seahawks. And I had one year, and I kid you not on this, by quote-unquote accident, NFL Sunday Ticket was ordered at Grandma and Grandpa's house for the season.
By accident?
I don't know if it was me. If it was me, I'd own up to it and tell you if I could remember. I don't. But somehow it got ordered at Grandma.
Somebody hit the fort. Wow.
Somebody did back in the.
That's hilarious.
So like 1 year after, it was like after church on Sundays we go to.
It was like you stayed the night and like you get like a motel room. It's like those. Like, the movie title isn't on the bill, right? Just going to say movie was because sometimes you lay on the remote and it just hits a thing, and all of a sudden we got Sunday Ticket for the entire season.
So there was 1 year, like, we had that, but it was hilarious. Like, go, and Grandma and Grandpa had DirecTV, so it was go over there and watch Sunday Ticket. But I remember at the end of that, they're like, we're not doing that.
Never again.
Because my family doesn't have a big-time NFL team. That being said, looking back, if the rules were reversed now, considering I was a kid, my parents were not going to pay for it. It would have been nice to have like a $150 option to watch the Bengals or watch the Rams. And I think that same problem still might be true, Justin. You could have, like, again, I look at my brother. He is here in Sherwood, Oregon, and a diehard New Orleans Saints fan. the Saints are not on TV very often here. But him being 18, he's like, I'm not going to pay $4.99 for Sunday tickets. So I think there's a gap, but maybe it's not that big of a deal, right? Maybe they still make enough money and people are happy enough.
I do think the one thing that this whole trial is doing, because like I said, before I even heard about it, I was like, Sunday ticket, I bought into what the NFL was feeding me because I am in the NFL machine. I'm a sports fan. I'm a simpleton who just wants to watch guys smash into each other on Sunday and Saturdays. But my eyes have been opened. Like, what if you could do like maybe you don't have a team where you just because everything can be interactive, right? And I'm doing things, and probably if anybody who's an engineer is like, Justin, you can't just do that. But I would think like, what on Sunday you go like, all right, just like you pick your fantasy team, they give you you get three players, and on Sunday morning, just like on your fantasy team, by the time the kickoff at 10 o'clock, you can't change anymore. But up until then, pregame shows happening. You're like, I would like to watch Aaron Rodgers today. I would like to watch Justin Jefferson today, and I would like to watch Tyreek Hill today.
I like that.
And just boom,
like
boom,
that.
boom. And then for like, I don't know, like $12 a month, you can do that. Or like you said, or you could pick one team. Like I will watch this team.
Just a little bit of like a little bit of flexibility in the rigor of it is $4.99 unless you wait until week 10, then we'll give it to you for $2.50.
But I think that's what the NFL is counting on. Is
Right.
like, no, this is an all or nothing deal.
And I guess the whole point is at the premise, Justin. Does that violate antitrust laws?
Well, that's for legal
there you
people.
go.
That's not for us to decide.
No, but that's
we're
what
just
this
here
will come
talking
down
about how we watch football on the internet moving forward. All right, let's get to make or miss.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, Justin. It's like anything else, right? Someone can be guilty of a crime, but if you don't prove your case, right? So I'm curious to see, does this, the side of the plaintiffs, can they show damage, right? Can they show that people were harmed by this?
Well, I don't know if that's part of the whole antitrust thing. I think it's is it a fair market value?
Okay, got you. So monopolistic practices.
Because that's where the
yeah.
college antitrust thing, right? The NCAA for years and years and years could limit transfers, and then they were like, well, yeah, but now that they are consumers, you can't limit their transfers because you can't limit their ability to profit. Well, I think what they're trying to prove is, does the NFL limit the ability of other entities to profit by keeping it a premium product? I don't know. Again, that's
for sure.
Legal as we're going to get.
Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and fire up make or miss today. All right, Justin. Boston should definitely send Portland a care package of some sort.
I think so. I think that's warranted. At least a gift basket. I'm not saying that
cash basket.
What would be in a gift basket from Boston?
Okay. Just because there's precedent, and I'm just going to say this is tongue-in-cheek, Justin. I'm not serious, but this would be hilarious. Put in, like, all the things we were talking about. Maybe, like, a framed, like, email or whatever it is from Joe Cronin saying, yeah, holiday for the trade or whatever. And then throw in, like, a little, what do you call it? Because there is precedent when this happens. Give Malcolm Brogdon and Robert Williams like a staff ring.
Well, I mean, does Dame get like a gift basket as well? Look, this whole thing.
I just send baskets everywhere.
I mean, it's all. I guess how far into the woods do you want to get? But yeah, how nuts is this? That,
Celebrate Boston.
It wasn't like, and maybe the Blazers did, but it wasn't like the Blazers were shopping Damian Lillard a year ago at the NBA Finals. It wasn't until after the draft, and then Damian Lillard requested the trade, which we all kind of saw coming once they drafted Scoot Henderson. And then, like, remember Dame like went into exile? It was like, Dame, I want some help. I want some help. I want some help. how about this 19-year-old plays the same position as you, and then Dame goes into exile and then comes back out and is like, yeah, I'd like to be traded, and I'd like to be traded to Miami. Now, that obviously didn't work out, but that trade request, it's not 6 degrees of Damian Lillard, right? It's like 3 degrees of Damian Lillard to get the Boston Celtics up and over the hump. Dame goes to Milwaukee. Milwaukee gives up on Drew Holiday, which do you think, I guess you had to give him up to get Dame, and we'll see down the road if, in fact, that's a win-win-win, right? If clearly the Celtics are winning this whole thing because they've got a banner and a championship ring on the way, and they are hoisting the trophy as we speak. So they have won. If, in fact, the Milwaukee Bucks get healthy and they make a run and win a championship next year, which why wouldn't they? They've got Dame and Giannis. Then that's a win-win. And then the Blazers ultimately take all of these assets and we'll see what they turn Malcolm Brogdon into. We'll see what Robert Williams, maybe he becomes a contributor. Could there be a win-win-win here? I hope so.
It could be. I mean, it could be. And then, obviously the biggest piece is, DeAndre Ayton still and, future picks down the line. Again, like, Justin, we're talking about this now. Boston looks to be a wagon, not going away anytime soon. I'm really happy those picks Portland has coming in from Boston are in the 2030s, right?
Well, and isn't that the same with the picks they have with Milwaukee, right? It's like 2028, I think, is the pick they have for Milwaukee. And after they make 2 or 3 runs at it, they're going to have to blow that up.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's just how it works. You can't pay Dame and Giannis what Dame and Giannis want to be paid. So at some point, that whole thing's going to get blown up.
Yep.
So by 2028, that pick might be looking
very good,
fairly good. So boom, there you go. Win, win, win. Turn the poster into a T-shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. So
done.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, if I'm Brad Stevens, and honestly, Danny Ainge might deserve a gift basket too. I mean,
it is amazing though in the NBA, like, all of the things that kind of have to fall into place to build a championship team. And we sit here in Portland is hoping that those things are currently falling into place to build a championship team. Now, I'm not saying that the Blazers are the Celtics, but, I mean, they had that number 3 pick for Jason Tatum for a reason. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, who knows? Maybe this whole thing is being built right now, and we'll look back at the, those were some tough times, but it certainly paid off because the Celtics, it's not like they went from Larry Bird to Kevin Garnett to this, right?
Do you think there's
they had some times at the bottom of the barrel, too.
Oh, it was bad. I mean, outside of, you think of it this way, Larry Bird, they win at 86, best Celtic team ever. Won championship before yesterday, 07. Won. So that's why the Lakers have been the more dominant dynasty as of late. But just to kind of close that, Justin, how much regret is around the people who left the organization or were pushed out? Like, how does Danny Ainge feel knowing that all his work was now won by really somebody else? Again,
I think that's just life in the NBA.
Fair.
It's just life in the NBA.
Ime Udoka, who, that's kind of a tricky situation.
Yeah.
Or Kyrie Irving, who thumbed his nose. And imagine if Kyrie Irving had just stayed patient in Boston with that group.
But again, we've talked about the way this team was built and constructed. I don't think that team works with Kyrie Irving. You need Drew Holiday playing defense.
Perhaps,
you need Peyton Pritchard coming off the bench, right, as a role player. And I don't know if Kyrie Irving, with all that, I just don't think they all coexist all that well. All right, coming up, we will get off my lawn with some grumpy old man takes. Before we do that, I do want to let you know about, again, filling the truck. That's right, Toyota and iHeartRadio need your help filling the truck with canned and non-perishable food items to benefit the Oregon Food Bank. Bring donations and look for the specially marked Toyota Tundra at 2 different Fred Meyer locations. Not tomorrow, I wish. Saturday, this weekend from noon to 2, Kings Boulevard in Corvallis, and Sunday, the 23rd, from noon to 2 on Northeast Wilder here in Portland. While you're there, enter to win a trip for 2 to the iHeartRadio Music Festival in Vegas. Go to the events page at ripcityradio.com for a complete list of dates and locations, and join us at Fred Meyer as we fill the truck for the Oregon Food Bank. Wrapping up hour number 2 next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up hour number 2. It is Tuesday. And while we are very excited on this show, because Tuesday is when our good friend Devon Pouncey joins us, and he's going to be in for the entire third hour, it's still a tough day of the week for a lot of people, right? We've all hunkered down on Monday. You get through it. Wednesday, hump day, and then Thursday or Friday, we're rolling into the weekend. Tuesday can really be a burr in your saddle, can stick in your craw, as they say, and we might be a little bit grumpy on a Tuesday. So here on the show, we lean into said grumpiness. We don't let that stuff fester. We lean into it and we get it out. And I'm also leaning into the fact that certain things are bothering me more and more, and it's making me seem more and more like a grumpy old man. So we embrace both our grumpy old manness and the fact that it is Tuesday with a little segment we like to call Get Off My Lawn. Real quick lawn update. Oh, grass is still beautiful. Grass is still beautiful at the Myers household. Lawn's looking good. Redid the entire front yard. Curb appeal, even though I'm not selling my house anytime soon. All right. On today's episode of Get Off My Lawn, parking spaces, specially marked parking spaces. You can all get off my lawn. Brenden, we have too many specially marked parking spaces. Back in my day, there were two types of parking. There was those with a handicap parking sticker, and then there was the rest of us. That was it. That was all. Those are the only parking spaces, and I'm not talking about on the street. I'm not talking about downtown. I'm not talking about in parking garages. I'm simply talking about at the grocery store, at the Costco, at the strip mall. There used to just be two. There was two. There was either those that needed to be parked a little bit closer because of physical ailments, and then there were spaces for the rest of us. And it was first come, first serve, and sometimes you had to battle it out. Sometimes you had to get a little aggressive, but that was it. Well, that made way for here is the curbside pickup spaces. All right. So now we've got the handicap parking. Now we've got the curbside pickup. This one is reserved for expectant mothers. Okay, understood. That's got to be tough. That's probably not a fun walk to me. All right, fine. Expectant mother. And this one is for either active or retired military. Love those guys. All for you. Salute your service. Thank you. Yeah, sure. This one is for electric vehicles only. Whoa. What are we doing? This is for electric vehicles only. This one is for a 15-minute limit only. We have far too many parking spots for far too many things. We need to just bring it back down to what it used to be, right? Because I get it. If you're a store and you're in a strip mall and you're like, that's got to be the worst, is that, we're next to the Target and we got no spots, but goodness gracious. From curbside pickup to 5-minute loading, unloading only, to expectant mothers, military, retired, or active duty, electric vehicles only. And by the way, isn't that one of the worst? And again, you want to help save the planet?
Sounds like someone who doesn't have an electric vehicle.
You want to help save the planet? Great. I'm all for it. Let's do what we can. And if you ever make an electric vehicle that looks awesome, your Cybertruck looks ridiculous. I'm just going to say it. But you're like a crowded parking lot and you're like, ooh, I think I got one. And you're like, oh, EV vehicles only. There are too many reserved parking spots, and we need to start ripping some of these signs up because was it so bad? And again, my apologies to the expectant mothers. My apologies, because, again, that can't be a fun walk. But, in the 80s, when our moms were pregnant, they were able to make that walk to the grocery store. I'm just saying they were able to pull it off. I don't know. Yeah, when I go to the Lowe's, I actually think that's kind of a good idea, active and retired military. That's kind of good. But at some point, We got to dial back these signs. And then I think there are now places. I don't think I've seen one in Portland, but I've seen them on the Twitter. And again, maybe they're lying. Brenden, you can actually pay to park up close now. Not pay to park in a parking garage like we all have been doing for years and years and years. Not pay to park in a metered spot on the street. No. Now there's the curbside pickup. There's the physical ailments. Some have the expectant mother, and then there is priority at like a grocery store, where you can pay to now park. What are we doing? What on earth are we doing? The parking lot is a post-apocalyptic jungle, and it's I have probably lost my cool more often than not. Clackamas Costco looking in your direction. Far too few parking spots for the amount of warehouse space that they have. But that's the way it is. But no. 5-minute priority, loading and unloading. 15-minute spot. Oh, and by the way, who's monitoring these? Now, I am a rule follower, just in general. I complain about them a lot, but I follow the rules. And I see those 15 minutes, and there's no way that car's been there for longer than 15 minutes. There's no way that car's only been there for 15 minutes. And it's not like you actually have the traffic patrol in these parking lots. So let's just get rid of all of them. Keep, obviously, those with physical ailments that need to be parking close. We've lived with that, and that is a good thing. We need to keep that. We need to protect that, by the way. And also, by the way, to some of you who have the disability parking sticker, I see you. All right, I see you. You could have parked 3 other feet. Some people really need that. Some people, dare I say, abuse the privilege. I'm just going to throw it out there. UCLA football, looking in your direction. Google it. But strip mall parking lots, let's end the labeling and let's just go back to regular parking. So to all these specialized parking spaces that are in my world that I don't qualify for any, and that's fine. Maybe that's why I'm complaining about it. I don't qualify for any. You can all get off my lawn. Friend of the program, Devon Pouncey. He joins the show next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Justin Myers with you. The NBA Finals are now in the books, and that is a wrap on the 2024 NBA season. The Boston Celtics raise yet another banner as they take down the Dallas Mavericks 106-88 behind. Jason Tatum's 31 points to take the series 4-1. But Jaylen Brown walked away with MVP honors. Boston now edges the Lakers for most NBA titles by a franchise. In NFL news, Commissioner Roger Goodell testified in federal court yesterday over the NFL Sunday ticket package. The class action claims the NFL broke antitrust laws with selling the package to YouTube TV. And coming up now for the entire third hour, very excited. Welcome back. Friend of the program, our basketball analyst with a ton of basketball to talk about. Devon Pouncey joins us in hour number 3, and that is right now, 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Very happy to have back live in studio our good friend Devon Pouncey. Pounce, what's happening?
The NBA season is over, my man.
And just like that, the confetti falls,
Yes,
the
indeed.
champagne pops, and now we move on to what might be a drama-filled NBA offseason.
I mean, that's what we've gotten accustomed to. It's a year-round sport now, man. It's a year-round sport.
So let's dive into this real quick. I mentioned it earlier. Not the NBA's fault. Sometimes, like the Super Bowl, you get a day.
Yes.
Right? Even if it's a bad Super Bowl, you still get a party. Right?
Right.
It's on a Sunday. You go over to your friend's house. You eat the wings. You drink the beers. And even if it's a bad Super Bowl, you're fine.
Yeah.
NBA Finals not the same because it is a series. There's a lot of other factors. And not the NBA's fault. This one felt like a clunker. Felt like a clunker to me for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
And I want to dive into all of them. One, there was one competitive game. There was, like, of the 5, there was one that in the fourth quarter, and in that one competitive game, Luka was fouled out in the last 4 minutes.
Yes, he was.
So there was one competitive game, and even then, towards the end, wasn't so competitive. 2, I think Brown and Tatum are going to become stars. I don't know if they're there quite yet.
Ooh.
This might do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're quite there yet. And Luka and, more importantly, Kyrie didn't really kind of show up and have kind of that superstar moment. And then 3 is what's the story, right? Because I know the NBA it's a league kind of based upon storylines, right? Can Kobe and Shaq coexist? Durant and Westbrook, and then the breakup, and that. So it's always been kind of a storyline, and didn't really seem to have one. Boston, for lack of a better, drama-free the last couple of.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the issue last year with the Heat, but this year they were the best team all year.
Yep.
Really didn't have a significant injury until Porzingis in the playoffs, and that didn't seem to bother them. And they were wagging all the way through, kind of drama-free.
Well, that's what I think the story is. And I think, we look for a lot of these sort of like storylines that sometimes may be on the edges. But I think from like a purist standpoint, when we talk about the hoops, you got to give the Boston Celtics all of the credit. I think their trajectory, especially since, Brown and Tatum has been there for the last, 6 and 5 years. And the fact that, there have been a lot of people that have had questions, sort of what you alluded to about their star power. And I think a lot of that has been unfair to them because they've been so young and going on so many deep playoff runs that we treated them as if they're not just turning 26 and 27 years old. And so I think with that, they've sort of gotten this unfair treatment of expectations, essentially, where they're expected to have been at the top because they've gotten so close so many times, and then they've just continued to fall short. And this year, I think, is the year that they finally got over the hump. So I think you have to acknowledge them as stars now for being able to do that. And still, relative to what we see for especially young star players when it comes to entering their prime, they're entering their primes now and already have a ring to show for it. That's impressive, more impressive than I think they get credit for because we just got accustomed to them going on deep playoff runs.
I mentioned it earlier. It sounds bad when I say that I don't know if I would consider Tatum and Brown both as a collective as NBA superstars. I see it like this.
Yeah.
There are incredible musicians,
Mhm.
right? Virtuoso talent.
Yeah.
They ain't rock stars.
For sure.
You know what I mean? There are unbelievable Oscar caliber actors. They aren't movie stars. These two are incredible basketball
Absolutely.
players. Like, this is not a knock on their ability to play and win at the highest level. I don't know if I see a lot of star power there. Now, that might be just because, like you mentioned, because they're young. It's on the and we'll see what happens now that they have a ring to go along with it.
Yeah.
Is this the beginning of a dynasty? Kind of feels like it. They don't really have a lot of weaknesses.
Not at all.
But that's where I was saying, like, and maybe it's also just I am aging out of NBA superstars, right? I no secret I'm a Jordan fan, but like we've talked about the transition in the league, and didn't feel like in a series with Tatum, Brown, Luka, and Kyrie, didn't feel like an awful lot of star power.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just me because I've been for a long, long time. I've been so used to Steph, LeBron, Durant, Curry, and those guys are all getting up there.
I do think that there's an element where when you have two guys as great as they are at basketball, as you kind of just mentioned, that also play the same position, I think it's actually the basketball that has impact on why they may not be, stars in the way that you kind of see them, rock stars essentially. Because you got two guys that do the same thing, play the same position, and they had to learn how to maximize themselves within the confines of the team rather than try to like elevate themselves above the team and be able to stand and kind of hover over the team as the star. And I'm the one that's running the show here. I'm the one that has to have the ball in certain moments. I'm the one that, dictates what's going on. I'm the one that has influence when it comes to the front office and the coaches and things like that. I just think that they took sort of a unique route, being that they were a tandem that did very similar things, that were the 1 and number 2 options on that team, and they won that way. Usually you got a guard, a center. You got a point forward and a point guard, if you will. Like, you kind of have different elements where these two dudes, like, really just put the basketball first. And still, they're stars. I mean, Tatum's in every other commercial that you see. I think it's actually Jaylen Brown who's starting to, rise to stardom and starting to show a little bit more of his personality. He's always kind of been stern in what he's believed in and like stood for his beliefs and what it is that he stands on. But I think his personality is starting to show a little bit more too. And I think that we're on the cusp of seeing these two become superstars because I think they've been prepped to ultimately become that. They just kept the basketball first, and now they're champs because of it.
How are they able to pull that off? Because
it's hard.
You look back.
It's unique.
That's part of it is it's not the media's fault, but it is what we talk about, right?
Yeah.
Is that whose team is it? It's such a fun topic.
Yes.
It is. It's such a fun thing to talk about because anybody that's been on some kind of group, naturally an alpha, especially dudes, an alpha emerges.
Right.
It always, and very rarely in the NBA have we ever seen it work where there were two alphas. Now, the Lakers, Kobe and Shaq pulled it off for a handful. They won 3 titles, but ultimately it fell apart. The Warriors, I think, with Durant and with Steph, they were able to put the basketball first. But those are pretty rare things because especially now with social media and it's, it's all coming to your pocket. You know what I mean? Like, Jaylen Brown has his phone buzzing going like, is this Jaylen Brown's team or is this Jason Tatum's team? Like, he can look at it if he wants to. And I think that's an impressive thing with Boston. I'm curious, how long does that last? How long does that last before Jason Tatum starts looking, going like, yeah, he won the MVP, but I led all scorers. I led all assists. I led rebounds. I'm not getting paid as much.
He will.
He will.
And I think that's the key. And I think that actually, I believe, was the turning point for this team is when Jaylen Brown got that massive deal. A lot of people looked at that as like a kind of a crazy deal because, again, this was a young team.
We raked the Celtics over the coals when they gave him that deal.
For sure. But I think for him internally, like, for him, he felt appreciated enough to be willing to sacrifice whatever his own individual ego may have been, especially as a young player that's growing into a budding star and still has room to mature and grow and all the things. And I think that was kind of the moment that made him feel appreciated and was the turning point for him sacrificing himself and saying, hey, I want to prove that I'm worth this $300 million contract. And again, the way that I do that is to get better at basketball, go out and win, and let the rest take care of itself. That's why you get the what they going to say now statements from the both of them. Mm-hmm. And in Tatum's case, I think he's just primed for it, whether it be with Boston or elsewhere. He's prime. He knows, like, he's not settling for nothing less than $300 million when that time comes.
So much money.
So when you kind of have that security of knowing I'm going to get that bread, whether it's here or elsewhere, where I think Brown was actually the one who was kind of like, I don't know if Boston's going to keep me around and pay me that amount of money. And I think when they did that for him, he in turn turned it up a notch when it came to, his commitment to the game, his work ethic, and his willing to ultimately sacrifice himself for the betterment of the team. And it paid off for him, not only just winning basketball and obviously having received that check, but winning MVPs, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, NBA Finals MVP. It paid off for him just doing the right thing, I believe.
In a league where we talk about there's lots of drama, and I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of egos, and really things don't get resolved a lot. I talk about how it's a league of feelings, right?
Yes.
If I'm not feeling the love, I'm out.
Right.
If I don't, and so it isn't another impressive thing of what the Celtics were able to do. There was, whether it was the early Kyrie drama, right? Whether it was Brad Stevens deciding I don't want to coach, I want to go to the front office.
Yeah.
Ime Udoka's situation, we still don't know what it was, but
for sure.
And Brown and Tatum both, kind of battling to be the alpha. And then even last year, they wanted Mazzulla, the fans I'm talking about, they wanted Mazzulla out.
Yes.
When they blew that series against the Miami Heat last year in the conference finals, they wanted Joe Mazzulla out. You think about all of those things in a league where any one of those things can blow up a team. The fact that they endured, part of that is probably why they're raising their 18th banner.
Yeah, exactly. It's that Celtics culture, man. They figure out how to make you want to come here and win. And again, I just give both of those dudes credit. And I see this team being a problem for a really, really long time because the way those dudes have sacrificed themselves in their own unique ways for this to become a reality at such young ages, I think it sets the tone for guys that are coming here to play here like, yo, we've been through all of these things that you just listed, and we endured that for the betterment of this team and winning basketball games. So anybody else that wants to come and be a part of this, you basically got to fall in line and operate with that same mentality. And that's a recipe for success.
You hear about the Michael Jordan story when they lost to the Detroit Pistons, and it was like the next day he's like, I'm going to the gym.
Yeah.
And so in that spirit, now that the finals is over, we have given the Celtics their flowers. We've given the winners the sprinkles on their ice cream sundae. But look, the confetti has fallen. It's moving forward time. So we're going to look forward. What did this mean for the Dallas Mavericks?
Mm-hmm.
What does this mean for other teams in the East and the Portland fingerprints that were on this championship for the Boston Celtics? We talk about all that and so much more with Devon Pouncey next, 620 Rip City Radio. It might not have been a party in the USA, but it was a party in Boston last night. I could imagine
Indeed.
what it was like. I saw a whole bunch of fans spilled out, and
Anybody climb the street lamps?
I don't know. I think so. I think it's like in Philadelphia they do the thing where they grease up like the street lamps so that drunk fools don't climb up on top of them, so they don't fall down, and then they sue the city.
I can say this, Justin. If Portland ever won, I'm not sure I'd ever go home. That'd be an all-night party.
Yeah,
for
sure.
That'd be like 3 a.m. walking down Broadway. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that would be lit for sure.
Yeah, that'd be all night, man. I'd be like, oh yeah, coming here at 5 a.m. Oh yeah, Justin, I just left downtown by the waterfront, man.
That's fair. That's fair.
And hopefully one day we get to figure out how to navigate downtown and where the parade route's going to go. And we talked about it earlier, like the Blazers' contribution to this championship is not insignificant. And because I love and Pounce, you know this because we did a show for a handful of months.
Yeah, we're back now, man.
But we're back. I love the butterfly effect. I love the this and what could have been. And I think back to a year ago. And I guess I'll flat out, if Damian Lillard never asked for a trade, or if when said trade request was rescinded and then if the Blazers said, let's try to make it work, if cooler heads would have prevailed or whatever, was Boston the NBA champions? Because Dame goes to Milwaukee.
Right.
Milwaukee gives up Drew Holiday.
For sure.
Drew Holiday goes to Boston. Boston gives up Brogdon and Robert Williams. Reshuffle there.
Drew Holiday came to Portland.
Yes, what I meant. Sorry. Drew Holiday went to Portland.
Right.
Portland sends Drew Holiday to Boston.
Right, there we go.
Brogdon, Williams come. Or if Dame would have gotten his Miami trade that he wanted to, they still might win the title because Brown and Tatum are an unbelievable duo, and they still had Horford and they still had an awful lot. But it really felt like, especially in the finals, and you mentioned it last week.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving was not a factor, and it wasn't because he isn't a terrific basketball player. It's because Drew Holiday had him locked down.
He had him strapped. And again, I think, and if you consider Boston, to go back to answering your direct question, if Boston would have been champions had things not played out the way that they had, I think you would have had yet another deep run. But you got to remember, Boston had also lost Marcus Smart, who I think was a huge part of what it was they did. And then in return, ultimately ended up getting a Drew Holiday, which is like a Marcus Smart on steroids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think in terms of their continuity, when we talk about their journey, getting to this point and losing somebody like a Marcus Smart, who was a huge part of that continuity, a defensive player of the year, all the things, being able to get Drew Holiday not only filled that void in terms of what it was that Marcus Smart did for that team, but it elevated and enhanced it as well. And that made it to where this ultimately became kind of a cakewalk from start to finish for Boston to be able to win the championship. Obviously, you got to give Porzingis some of his as well. But Drew Holiday was indeed the difference, and I think them being able to get over the hump. So while, yes, I think they would have gone on another deep playoff run, I think it would have been probably nearly as challenging as it's been in years past without a Drew Holiday, where it became a breeze with Drew Holiday, and that's how good that guy is.
That's what Brenden and I said. Joe Cronin and Dame probably should get some gift baskets. Not a ring or anything or a bonus, but like a gift basket.
Some chocolate,
nice chocolate.
Just some. Hey, we appreciate you guys.
Like Brenden, you had the best. Like some of the leftover champagne, like they can't drink all that champagne.
Yeah, give some bubbly. Just be like, hey guys, this is what winning really tastes like. Appreciate you guys helping us out.
Drew Holiday was the difference.
And I told Justin, I said, Boston also would be like, enjoy the 14th pick in this so-so draft we got coming up too for Drew Holiday. So congrats.
All right, so. Way too early look ahead, but this is what we do. This is what we do in sports, right?
Yeah.
All right, great. You go champions. That banner
and
now
we got
flies.
a whole summer to do it now, too, because basketball's over. Poor sports people.
So I firmly believe that Boston is they're going to be around for a while.
I agree.
They don't have a weakness, really.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see what happens because I'm assuming Al Horford's going to retire, right?
Yeah,
He pro-
yeah.
He probably
He's
retired.
probably,
This is
he's
it?
got the ring.
He got
I
his
think
ring that he's
I
been
think
chasing
this is-
forever.
Yes, like 17 years.
It's a
probably
perfect
should retire.
time.
Yes, agree.
Big Al, though, man. He'd been around for a minute.
Yeah,
but-
he has.
But other than that, feels like everybody's kind of locked in. They don't really have an awful lot of, I think, when you look at Tatum, Brown, Holiday, even like Peyton Pritchard, like he's got his deal taken care of, I think, a year
Yeah.
ago.
Mhm.
Like they're set. They're
Yes.
set for a 2-3 year run. Who's going to be chasing them? Who's going to be chasing them? Do we still believe in the Mavericks? Or did the Mavericks get a bit exposed? Does the Luka Kyrie thing work at the highest level?
I believe it's who's chasing them is still on the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
I think it'll ultimately be the Milwaukee
It's
Bucks.
the Bucks, yeah.
I think the Bucks went through a whole lot this year, going through kind of what it was that they went through. And I think Dame and Giannis are going to be on a mission this offseason. It is the most, like, simply put that I could say it, because they still got a really good team over there. I'm sure they're committed to Doc Rivers now, and they won't go through yet another head coaching change next season. I think they kind of know the direction that they want to go in. They had to learn each other, how to play with each other. They dealt with a lot of injuries, all the things, even in the postseason. Giannis was hurt. Dame was hurt for some games. Like, you don't expect them to win without those two guys, but I do still think that you got to worry about those two guys over there in the Eastern Conference if they can get off to on a good foot coming into next season and be able to just kind of work their way and continuously get better to be a threat in the Eastern Conference. So I still believe Milwaukee's that team out east. The West is tricky because I think the West has it's so deep. It's such a deep conference that they're just going to beat up on each other again next postseason the same way that they kind of did this post. OKC's only going to get better.
Yep.
Luka and Kyrie's going to be Luka and Kyrie. Luka's still being the best player and the number one option on that team, is still young and is going to grow and get better. I'm sure Denver's going to want to kind of get back into the fold of things and get some action. We expect Anthony Edwards in Minnesota to only get better. Like, Klay Thompson unfollowed the Golden State Warriors on social media, so maybe that means they're going to try and go get better. I don't know what it means, but I just know that the Western Conference is so deep that when you beat up on each other kind of in a way in the postseason that they did, and then you have to face off against a team like Boston, who, again, it was quite a breeze them getting through the Eastern Conference this year. They were pretty fresh coming into that finals where Luka and Kyrie had to battle to get there. And, I think the fresh team got it done with ease.
It is fascinating, too, because if you think about, like, the amount of injuries, though, because I'm with you. Like, yeah, the Western Conference is got a ton of talent, and it is young, and it's hungry, and you've got a lot of teams like Oklahoma City, Denver, Minnesota, and clearly Dallas that have something to prove. I'm curious to see what the Clippers are going to do.
Me too.
Do they stick around with that big three? I know they just hired Jeff Van Gundy. Well, that's a weird hire. But if the East stayed healthy, because Jimmy Butler hurt,
yes,
Tyrese Halliburton hurt,
Dame
at the end of that, Giannis hurt.
Dame was hurt.
Dame got hurt.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell got hurt at the end of that series in the second round. Right? You think about all of those teams in the Eastern Conference. Boy, if there was a healthy group, and we talked about it this morning. Are we finally at the point now? Because forever in my time watching the NBA, usually one conference was lopsided, right? It was like when it was Jordan's era, right? Like there was a lot of really good teams in the East, and then obviously the Kobe Shaq era. There's a lot of good teams out west.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, we might have actually parity in the Eastern and Western Conference.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
And
you're not buying Indiana and
I'm
Cleveland.
not buying
You're
the
out
injuries. I'm not buying the excuses for the injuries, because the reality is the Boston Celtics were the best team this season from start to finish. This was their year, and I know a lot of those injuries happened later on in the season. It may have affected some postseason competition. Some of the injuries happened during the postseason. All of those things, but I think we got to give Boston the ultimate credit, because right out the gate, they let it be known this is our conference, and ultimately this is our league, and there was no inconsistencies in that. And if you look at that roster and you acknowledge the star power that they do have and how well constructed that team has been put together, they were the best team. They were the class of the Eastern Conference and ultimately the class of the league, which was proven last night from the very first day of the season until the very last day of the season. So I think teams in the Eastern Conference got to go play catch up. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I don't think it's as muddy over there as it is in the Western Conference because that Boston team absolutely owned the East.
By the way, we also went through the Eastern Conference teams talking about injury. Didn't even bring up Joel Embiid.
Yeah,
He's the MVP.
Who would have been MVP without the injuries for sure.
And so that's another team there, like in Philadelphia.
But still, it was Boston. It was Boston through and through.
I'm with you. I mean, the regular season and the fact that what they lose 3 games in the playoffs.
One of the greatest playoff runs ever. That team was dominant.
And so here's what I'm wondering. Somebody's going to take a big swing, right? Because they see what's going on with the Celtics. Is Milwaukee going to take a swing? Do they have the capital to do that, or do they just have to run it with Dame and Giannis and hope they stay healthy? Is Philadelphia?
They have to.
Do they? Because I saw, does Philadelphia want to try to make a run at Paul George?
I saw that as well.
Is Paul George going to be up for grabs? And if you have maybe a 1 year or 2 year run, Paul George might be the guy to go
for
get.
sure. Yeah, he's
not
like
a
that.
10-year run, but 1 to 2 year run.
Well, I mean, that's where I think Philly is forced to have to try to make that move is I feel like that's about all they got to keep Joel Embiid happy and wanting to stay in Philadelphia is 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
We know you've got some injury that you can lay out as an excuse, but he's been there for quite a while now, and I know he wants to win. And you got about a year or two to win with that guy, or at least give him a legitimate chance to win. And if that doesn't happen, then I mean, I don't have right in front of me how many years he has left on his contract, but either way, he might try to force himself out of there.
Brenden, when do the Clippers move into their new building?
Is it this offseason? They'll be at the Intuit Dome next season. I'm curious for you.
So the reason why I brought it up, though, is because, the Clippers, you're moving into a new building.
Yes.
Now, Golden State was coming off of championships, and they were moving into a new building, and they're like, we're okay because everybody wants to be in this building. Los Angeles basketball is still crypto is still the
for sure.
Intuit Dome looks unbelievable. Did you see they have charging stations in every chair?
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
Toilets.
And the toilets, which is a guy who goes to the bathroom a lot at games because I drink a lot of beers.
Hey,
I appreciate.
Hey man, keeping things flowing and healthy.
I
Nothing wrong with that.
appreciate. Nothing worse. It's like, oh my goodness. Anyways,
real quick,
but I'm just wondering, do you stick with the big three? Because you got to put butts in seats at this brand new arena. Is the new arena cool enough to maybe trade Paul George for younger talent? Do you trade him for Tyrese Maxey? Does Philly make that move? The Clippers I'm fascinated by because you got a new building.
Yeah.
The Lakers are vulnerable right now, but you never know because they always seem to rise back
Figure it out.
They always seem to figure it out.
Yeah, you talked about that last week.
So I'm curious, what do the Clippers do?
I mean, you got to try to get Paul George back. I still personally think today Paul George is the best player on that team.
He's restricted free agent?
Yeah.
Player option.
Player option. So I think today you got to try to get him to opt in and get Paul George back because I do think he's still a heck of a talent, and I think he's the best player that team actually has. And if you don't get him, I see trouble over there moving into that new building because a lot of those guys haven't been as reliable, and I know he's dealt with his fair share of injuries as well, but he's been a bit more available than maybe the guy on the other wing over there. And if that's who you're kind of trying to ride into, being able to move into this new building and have major success, I see that being a tall task because it's been one already with what we thought was going to be an automatic championship when they both arrived to Los Angeles.
Brenden, what were you going to ask?
Yeah, who's more likely, Devon? Because, to your point, Philly is easily the biggest contender other than OKC could have cap space if they clear Gordon Hayward's slot, but I'm curious to know if they go star hunting or if they just kind of circle the wagons and improve internally. But, could you see Philly just being yeah, we'll throw a bag at Paul George, or to a certain extent, a name you guys mentioned earlier, could anyone just kind of get drunk and be like, yeah, we're going to offer Klay Thompson a bag. Get Klay Thompson out of Golden State, because if you're Golden State, do you offer Klay the max that he wants?
There's no way he's going back to Golden State.
Yes.
They're unfollowed
So
on
there you
social
go.
media.
So there's your answer. There's your
Brenden,
answer.
how do you come back from that? They unfollowed each
There's
other
your
on social
answer.
media. It's 20.
So could Klay Thompson be in Philly? Could Klay
I mean, that-
roll with
Yeah.
Embiid and Maxey? Not a bad trio there.
I mean, he's still a top 5 shooter in the league, at least when it comes to making those things. You know, he's obviously not the two-way guy he once was prior to the injury. So there's some value taken away from that. But I think, you know, maybe him and the Warriors kind of ran their course, but I do think he can go find him a max contract out there on the market or something close to it.
Some
out there
GM
on the
would do it,
market.
you're saying.
Some GM would do it. Like you said, you know, some GM might get under the influence and do
See,
it.
I'm
And
not
I don't
the
think
only
it's the
one
worst
thinking
thing
it.
if they do.
All right,
I don't
let's-
know if it's the best, but I don't know if it's the worst either.
All right, we have been talking about moves in the offseason, and we need to now recognize where we are standing, right? Geographically, where we are. Portland's got a lot of guards. Hey, Pounce, a lot of guys that like to dribble the ball.
Yeah.
Right? They got a lot of guards, and I'm wondering, I've said it before, I do not see a path forward with Shaden, Scoot, and Simons.
You have. You've been consistent in that.
And Brogdon also on there.
Yeah.
Brogdon seems like the more likely because he is a plug and play backup point guard for any team in the league right now, right?
for sure.
Put him in there. He's going to be one of the best backup point guards in the league, and it makes sense. But I'm just wondering, like, you talk about all these teams. Did the Blazers put Anthony Simons up on the trading block? Because that's all those teams in the East. We didn't mention Orlando.
Yeah.
Orlando
Yeah.
is on the way.
For sure.
I'm not there yet, but they're on the way. Anthony Simons can get buckets as well as anybody.
Yes, he can.
And still in his mid-20s.
Yeah.
I just wonder how valuable that would be out there on maybe a couple of teams, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Orlando, Clippers, right? To like, you got a 2-3 year window. Does Anthony Simons draw some interest?
Yeah, I do. I believe that there will be teams interested in Anthony Simons. I think you named one in Orlando Magic. He's from Florida as well.
He's from the Orlando area.
Yeah, he's from that area as well. But I do think that there will be some teams knowing, that, it's been blatantly put out there, by the Blazers front office that, we want to get better and basically kind of no spot is safe here. We want to maximize what it is that we have and ultimately go get what it is that we need to become better and seek more talent, all the things. And sometimes you got to give up some talent to be able to do that. I don't know if Anthony Simons is the guy that they're going to do that with, but I do believe that I have to believe that there are going to be other teams that are going to come to Portland and say, yo, we might have this, or that, because we may be an Anthony Simons away from reaching that next level and ultimately trying to contend for a championship because he is a dynamic scorer. And there's a lot of teams that are well-constructed teams in terms of having a bunch of guys that can play their roles, but you still need a guy that, when all else fails, can I just put the ball in his hands and he can go get a bucket? Anthony Simons has proven to be that dude. So I'm sure that, he'll be shopped around because I think that there'll be other teams that'll have a lot of interest in being able to get his scoring boost over there to help them take the next step in their journeys.
And I don't want to sound like I'm trying to run Anthony Simons out of town, but
not
it's
at all.
not.
It's
not show friends, it's show business.
It's not show friends, it's show business, but I also think it speaks to how good he actually is. And when you're playing for a team that has struggled and you are getting to a point where you've proven yourself to be a high-level talent in this league, especially scoring the basketball, teams are going to garner interest in that and wanting to help elevate their team, especially when you're already playing for a team that's pretty much acknowledged to be in rebuild. So I don't think it's a bad thing and that it's anybody trying to push Anthony Simons away. I think he's a talented player and he's a scorer, and there are more than just the team that he plays for that will have interest in acquiring him this offseason. And from there, you just got to see what's available and what moves are right for both parties.
All right, coming up, we're going to wrap up with a Ebony and Ivory version of the RCM mailbag, and we're also going to play a new game. It's a game within a game within a game. I have a song. I don't know if it's a banger or not.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you,
okay,
is this song a banger?
Okay.
That's coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up the big show. We do that the same way each and every day with the RCM mailbag. And when Devon Pouncey joins us live in studio, we have a special version of the RCM mailbag, which is a reimagining of one of our favorite segments back in the Justin and Devon days.
Yes.
Which is a conversation on the different cultures that you and I grew up in and both live in. We call it Ebony and Ivory. Here we go. All right, so this is a game within a game, and then I'm going to throw in a third game because there's been a song that has been popping into my life, and on principle, I don't know if I like it, but then I listen to it and I think I kind of like this song.
Okay.
So I'm very curious as to your thoughts on this song, because while I do have an appreciation, a love for old school hip hop, the only new music I listen to is country music.
Got it.
It's the only new music that I listen to. I can't do new hip hop, and I can't do angry.
Yeah, and I can't do new country, so I get it.
It's
on the opposite end of the spectrum.
So
that's why we're here.
So this song, which is technically certified as a country song, it's on country playlists.
Yeah.
But is a reimagining of an old school hip hop song. So, Brenden, if we could play the Bar Song by Shabuzi.
Yeah.
I want to know from Devon, is this a banger? Because I think it's kind of a banger. Here, can you fast forward to the? Can we get to the
hook?
We don't have fast forward. Okay. It's all right. We'll play it.
Let it rock, baby.
So, now I love Tipsy.
Yeah. That's the banger, too.
That one.
Here comes the two to the three. Yeah.
So, and also, by the way, I do apologize to all the YouTube viewers who cannot hear any of the music because we'll get a copyright violation.
That's right.
So, what do we think about this song?
Hard.
Oh,
banger.
It's a banger. Your world, my world.
Great flip.
Put them together.
And this is what you get.
I love this song so much.
Banger.
Now, it came out a little too early to be technically like Song of the Summer. Because we haven't had a Song of the Summer in a while, now that I think about it.
I think it got a lot of spins here in Portland this past weekend because it was Black Rodeo weekend.
That's right. It was Juneteenth Rodeo.
Yes, it was.
And I'm in.
I'm in. No, this is a great song.
It is a solid song. I don't know if
it's a great song.
I don't know if I'd heard this until now.
You've never heard this song before?
No, I don't think I.
Yeah.
Dude.
You know this, Justin. For new country, I'm kind of just kind of sticking with Morgan and some others, but I'm kind of into the hip hop for mostly new stuff.
He threw some sauce on country music.
He did.
That's literally what this was. He just added his own sauce and ingredients to it, and it's a banger. Undeniable.
In this same breath, Justin.
Yes.
I like it better than Texas Hold'em.
It's so much better than Texas. I got over Texas Hold'em real fast.
Okay.
And I was like, I kind of like it. Nah, I'm over this real fast.
I like it better than Texas Hold'em, personally.
Cowboy Carter, not the best.
Yeah, it didn't get many replays in my decks. Only when people with cowboy hats come into the bar. Hey, we're going to put in Texas Hold'em. That's about it.
The reactions have been very polarized, Justin. Have you heard Moneybagg Yo's new song?
I have heard
Moneybagg
Yo's new song, believe it or not. That popped up on my algorithm.
Yeah, with Morgan Wallen, man. What'd you think?
Out of nowhere.
I kind of liked it. I
Not
thought
the
it was
worst.
a banger.
It's not the
Moneybagg
worst.
Yo's good, though.
Yeah, I know.
Moneybagg Yo is really good.
Never heard of Moneybagg Yo before Tuesday.
Justin, listen to Moneybagg Yo, y'all. Let's go.
What a time to be alive.
It's a new day, folks.
Here's the thing. AI is going to ultimately destroy us all, but
it's on the way.
It knew that I think Justin might want to hear this.
And sure enough, he did.
I did not seek out nor search Moneybagg Yo, but it was
not hard to believe.
It was popped into my world.
Hey,
thanks to the
Moneybagg Yo's
algorithm.
legit though. He's good. He's a good rapper.
So yeah, so bar song, certified banger.
Yeah.
I'll third that.
I don't know if Whiskey is a certified banger quite yet from Moneybagg Yo.
That's fair. It's got to earn it.
I heard it a couple
give
times.
Some time.
Liked it.
We'll let it breathe.
So that was my
I like
question.
it. I like that a lot. It's funny because I did a music question last week, and I was actually sticking to music this week. So I'm glad we're kind of staying on theme there. Because earlier this week I was just, for one, it was Father's Day weekend, and my dad asked me to make him a mix. And so he did like a Father's Day barbecue at the house, and he came and visited me probably like a month or so ago, and he's like, for Father's Day, I want you to make a mix similar to the one I kind of heard you DJ.
Nice.
And so that's what I did for him for Father's Day. And but then I just was like, I was kind of made the mix of like old school music that, he might have grew up on a little bit more, but also like some older hip hop that he, his young adult days would love. And so when I was a kid, you know what I'm saying? And so then I kind of went into a complete old school playlist, and it reminded me of like Saturday mornings. Growing up, for us, it was Saturdays, but for a lot of black families, it was either Saturday or Sunday, probably depending upon if you had a faith-based family or not. And you would have like this kind of old school music, the Marvin Gayes, the Aretha Franklins. That was your morning cleanup music on Saturday mornings. You get woken up to it as a young kid. You didn't want to get up early on a Saturday. It was your weekend. You wanted to sleep in, and you would get woke up by Stevie Wonder or Aretha Franklin or Marvin Gaye, and you kind of knew what that meant when that music came on Saturday morning. It was time to do chores and clean.
Yeah.
Did y'all have sort of that culture, or what was the music that y'all had if Saturday morning or Sunday morning cleanup was a thing in y'all household?
Couple of things. Probably more generational than cultural, because I grew up in a time where there was one radio in the car. If you had a Walkman, but there was one radio in the car. Mom ran the radio, and we call them throwbacks. They called them oldies.
Okay.
So lots of Motown, lots of Euro Invasion, right? Hermits, and the Animals, and so it was. So every road trip, because my parents were teachers, we went on so many road trips.
Yeah.
We drove. We got in that Ford Aerostar van, and then the other thing was growing up. I would go across the street to my neighbor's house for about probably half an hour, because my mom went to school to be a teacher, and then we would go and catch the bus.
Right.
So. And Shirley and Shockey, who lived across the street, every morning Pounce, while she got ready for work, VH1.
Okay.
Okay. Billy Ocean.
Yeah.
Billy Joel. Wasn't all Billy's, though. Rick Astley.
Yeah.
All of that. That was the getting ready to go to school VH1 is on. So there we go.
Okay, I like it.
All right.
You learn something new every day.
There you go. A big thanks to Devon Pouncey for joining us. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Tuesday. We're back at it tomorrow morning bright and early here on 620 Rip City Radio.